pretty much the strongest max strikes in the game. So I think it's exciting to be able to feature like a kind of similar Pokemon that works in a different way.
Well, let's get this match started, shall we? Eric Rios versus Javier in the losers round 5 for the European region. Let's take a look at the leads coming through from Javier and Eric. We've got an Amoonguss and Togekiss from Javier and Porygon Z and Togekiss from Eric.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised to see Porygon Z come out immediately as a lead. Once again, this is the Pokemon that just wants off to Dynamax in turn 1 and just pick up knockouts turn after turn after turn. So I think here, no surprise to see Eric try to just go for straight damage. And so one of the big questions I have here is, how do you really deal with the onslaught of damage? I think Protects are a great way. And so if the Togekiss on Javier's end has Protect, a double Protect on the first turn makes a lot of sense just to stall out that first turn of Dynamax. It's really difficult to come back against a Porygon Z if it's able to do too much damage. So I imagine that Javier was preparing specifically for the Porygon Z. So you can see the Togekiss has Protect. If not, I think it's just going to, faint to a knockout immediately. So you really want to weather the storm here, and it looks like it does have Protect.
It does have Protect, so Javier going to be able to play it really safe here with a critical Protect onto Togekiss and a secondary Protect onto the Amoonguss. So all of the damage that Eric Rios was trying to go for early on this first turn is going to be pretty mitigated here. Max Strike doing a decent amount to Javier's Togekiss through the Protect, but we'll see that this Air Slash from the Togekiss is not going to be able to find its mark onto the protected Amoonguss either.
Yeah, so a smart, I think, passive play on Javier's end, but one that works out. Pretty much no reason to not double Protect there. So now the question is, since you've committed to double Protect, Eric is, of course, able to go for a target onto either of the slots, and he's able to get a lot of guaranteed damage off this turn. So one of the big questions to ask is there a Tyranitar in the back? If so, you could go switching the Tyranitar and go for something like a Follow Me. That allows you to get Tyranitar in safely, and then you can maybe protect with the last turn of Dynamax or on Porygon Z's end, because Tyranitar is really strong here. It's just that Max Strike will still do a hefty amount to it. So let's see if there's some Follow Me. No Follow Me. Okay.
Well, the Max Strike goes into the Amoonguss anyway, and whoo, takes that Pokemon significantly low. And I believe we saw a double into it from Eric's side as well with the Air Slash. But Amoonguss is prepared for that one, but I think with the little HP that it has left, it will not be able to survive. So Eric picks up an early knockout onto the Amoonguss.
Yeah, so Eric basically committing the double up onto the Amoonguss, does not want it to go for a Spore. I think if you get a single Spore off here, that is just such a big deal. And recognizing that he has the Koba Berry, realizes that he needs to double target that slot. I think it's impressive actually that Amoonguss was able to survive that Max Strike, so that's actually really critical in this matchup. So Javier gets that Tyranitar in for free, and that is a big deal because Tyranitar matches up really, really nicely against both Togekiss and the Porygon Z, and right now there's only one turn of Dynamax left. So Cinderace puts on a lot of offensive pressure right now, but Porygon Z with the Max Strike and that slot still will do a lot. So you can go for something like just a Follow Me and a Max Strike turn 1. Follow Me, Max Strike this turn specifically to just protect Porygon Z no matter if Cinderace maxes or not. It's, a safe play here. No Dynamax comes out from Javier's end, so let's see what he gets out of this turn.
I feel like Javier is just waiting for the right moment, but wait! Cinderace uses Bounce! That's huge here for Javier.
Yeah.
Well, now where does the Max Strike go?
It goes up in the air, and Tyranitar even with the Dragon Dance as well. Oh my goodness. And that was, I definitely wasn't expecting that, but that was a phenomenal play from Javier's, and using Cinderace kind of with that bounce defensively actually to get away from that Max Strike, stalling out that last turn of Dynamax. Cinderace is a Pokemon that normally doesn't carry Protect, so I was wondering, how do you actually get around Porygon Z getting a guaranteed Max Strike into that slot? Bounce is the answer, and now you even get that boost onto Tyranitar with the Dragon Dance, so really, really smart play there. You don't see Bounce used that often, normally because Cinderace kind of just Dynamaxes immediately, but able to stall out that last turn Dynamax on Porygon Z's end, and now there's a lot of offensive pressure coming out from Javier's end. Of course, he's not going to be able to Dynamax that Cinderace this turn, so I'm curious how this Tyranitar is trained, if it's able to just outspeed the Porygon Z right now. Can it potentially pick up a knockout onto it before it gets that attack off into the Cinderace slot? Where's the bounce going as well?
Yeah, a lot of questions that need to be answered. Bounce is going to get answered first. It goes right into the Porygon Z and does a decent amount of damage to that Porygon Z. But Porygon Z able to fire back with a Thunderbolt, and it's going to be super effective now that Cinderace has used Bounce and switched to the Flying type with its Libero ability, and it does go down. But Tyranitar gets off a second Dragon Dance.
Yeah, Porygon Z actually outsped the Tyranitar there after that first Dragon Dance, but now Tyranitar should be faster. So I think it's in a prime position to just click Rock Slide a bunch, or even potentially Dynamax. Now, you have to respect the Urshifu in the back from Eric's end, but, you know, Urshifu is a Pokemon that doesn't fare super well into Togekiss. So Eric's gotten a lot of damage off. It's just now he has to play this endgame, right? And I think the play that Eric's going for here makes a lot of sense. Fake out Tyranitar to cover for the option of it not Dynamaxing and just going for Rock Slide. And should it Dynamax, you know, you'll only be able to pick up one knockout instead of two knockouts here. With that Rock Slide, which you normally want to go for. But we know that the Togekiss does have Protect, right? So I think on Javier's end, he maybe wants to respect the option of Hyper Beam here. Of course, you can know that Tyranitar is faster as well, so by committing to Dynamaxing here, you could go for something like just a Max Knuckle. Oh, he's actually going to Dynamax the Togekiss. Okay. I actually really like that decision, because you have to respect the Urshifu in the back, like, you know, Eric potentially has.
Yeah, I really, really like that play as well from Javier, especially because the Togekiss has so much health already. And Tyranitar goes for Protect, so this Fake Out from Eric's Incineroar is not going to be able to get the job done that it wants to. And Porygon Z going for the Hyper Beam. Togekiss avoids it!
Oh, that's such a big avoid. It gets the Airstream off as well. I mean, I don't know if it was, you know, you're picking up the knockout there. If you do, for example, if you land a critical hit, or if Togekiss isn't very defensive and it just feints to a Hyper Beam there, I mean, that's like a game, you know, game-winning play there. But yeah, I think Javier recognizing that, hey, I think there might be an Urshifu in the back. Tyranitar Dynamax still doesn't do very well against Urshifu, but now in a really prime position to just click Rock Slide and Airstream, and I don't know if there's any way to stop it there. I mean, I'm really curious how much damage Porygon Z does with Hyper Beam into the Togekiss on Javier's end, because, you know, given that it had Protect, I, you know, would want to think it's maybe a little bit more defensive, so hard to say for sure, but nice decision to Dynamax the Togekiss there, and I think it's smart for a bunch of reasons, because you actually don't want Tyranitar to go for single target attacks right now. You wanted to just keep clicking Rock Slide, so Eric does have that Urshifu in the back, but how do you beat Airstream and Rock Slide at this point? I mean, maybe it's cycling Incineroar for Intimidate and getting a Fake Out later on, but it's just going to be really, really difficult because there's just so much offense. Actually, another Dragon Dance coming out instead of a Rock Slide.
Maybe just calling the switch out from Eric, especially because we did see that Incineroar go for a parting shot, but Porygon Z takes the max Airstream from Javier's Togekiss. Even if it's a crit, I don't think that crit mattered to be able to knock out the Porygon Z with the low health pool that it had. So Porygon Z going to faint here, and that leaves Eric with 3 Pokemon left. The parting shot goes into the Togekiss, and that's going to be another switch for Eric.
Yeah, so gets a special attack drop onto the Togekiss, but there are still, you know, there's still one more turn of Dynamax from the Togekiss right now. And I think, yeah, the way to win, I guess, is using your Togekiss defensively. I just don't see how the damage now hits onto the Togekiss, right? Like, that's why the Hyper Beam miss was such a big deal, because you need that chunk of damage, because now we've got Urshifu, Togekiss, and Incineroar. None of those really do that much damage to the opposing Togekiss. The Togekiss is also boosted in terms of speed. I was kind of surprised to see another Dragon Dance there, but, you know, ends up being pretty free. So now you can go for something just like an Airstream and a Rock Slide. You know, close combat into the Tyranitar slot is guaranteed, and if Eric's able to survive, you know, an attack from the opposing Togekiss that has that Focus Sash, should be able to get a close combat off, which is why, yeah, I thought Javier maybe just wanted to push the tempo a little bit earlier. So let's see. That being said, actually, Rock Slide might just knock out Togekiss here. If it does so, it will just be the game. So let's see. It is.
It does. Yeah, gets the knockout cleanly onto Togekiss. Man, that is a game changer for sure, as Togekiss is still super fast, goes for the max Airstream, and Urshifu doesn't take that one either, so double knockout for Javier.
Yeah, and actually, I think, you know, Javier recognizing, hey, I want to be faster than the Togekiss, so going for those Dragon Dances allows you to be faster, and then also, by being faster, it means that, yeah, you'll get that Rock Slide off first, and even with Intimidates, because you've already gotten all these attack boosts, you'll be able to get that super effective damage off. So, yeah, nicely done there to come out of, I think, what was, you know, a scary lead position there. the Hyper Beam miss, I'm still really curious if it would have been able to knock out Togekiss from that range.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Togekiss would have survived with just a little bit of HP, given that, it's still relatively healthy, but haven't seen Dragon Dance Tyranitar in a while, and I think Javier played really incredibly with it in this game. Ends up not taking any damage, gets multiple Dragon Dances off, and ultimately the combination of Togekiss and Tyranitar was really, really good against everything Eric brought. So you could see what Javier's game plan was. I gotta say, yeah, the decision to Dynamax Togekiss was really smart. I think often it's tempting to Dynamax a Tyranitar that's already gotten all these boosts, but...
Second game, as we get back into the action between Eric and Javier. It looks like Javier playing it safe again, maybe expecting that Porygon Z lead, which comes to fruition for Eric. So Javier with Togekiss and Amoonguss again, and Eric with that Porygon Z and Togekiss again.
Yeah, so once again, super passive leads on this side, but it's the same strategy, right? So yeah, I mean, Eric's committing to the Dynamax again, and perhaps he thinks Javier is going to expect him to not go for the Dynamax this time around. So I think if you read into the double protect turn 1 in the exact same play, yeah, you can get an extra turn of max. I also think, maybe Eric this time recognizes, hey, Cinderace might go for a bounce, so I'm just going to not target Cinderace on that last turn Dynamax, which can give him a really big deal as well. So a bunch of different ways he could play this differently from the first game. I think now he surely is going to respect the bounce option if the Cinderace just comes in again. But yeah, I think, this first turn could have chosen not to Dynamax, but by choosing to Dynamax, you're still putting on, putting the gas on the pedal and just pressuring with a lot of damage. And even if Javier goes for that double protect once again, you're still pressuring with a ton of damage going for the subsequent turn. So Eric just playing it safe because he says, right now I have all the, damage output. And if, I get a little bit careless and don't put on this pressure immediately, I have to worry about something like a Spore coming out. One thing you could go for, I'm thinking, is actually something just like a Follow Me with the Togekiss and the Spore, but looks like Javier is just going to stick with his guns and go for the same play.
I think sticking to the double protect is really important because it worked out really well for Javier in game 1, but specifically it just mitigates so much of that damage and that pressure coming in from the Porygon Z, so you can see kind of this same turn happening again where this Porygon Z goes for the Max Strike into the Togekiss and doesn't really get too much damage through that protect. But now that it's Dynamaxed, you're kind of stuck in this position of still dishing out that damage and hoping that you get a knockout onto one of Javier's Pokemon in the second turn.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is played out the exact same way as the last game. Right now, last time around, I mean, Javier's game plan was just to sacrifice Amoonguss, get the Tyranitar in for free. Eric, once again, you see, going for that double up, really respects Amoonguss going for a Spore, and I think that's very smart. If Amoonguss gets a Spore off in this game, it becomes so much more difficult because Eric's team is rather offensive, and so by shutting something down, you can just consistently go for targets. And so it's going to be, looks like, the same kind of play this time around. Tyranitar comes in once again. So yeah, right now we are just seeing an exact repeat of that first game.
It worked the first time for Javier, so why not try to play it out the same way again? Unfortunately, this did result in a knockout, the first game for Eric onto this Amoonguss. And we're also seeing the speed drop come through, but this is where I feel like the adjustments need to happen for Eric. You can't allow this Tyranitar to get off those free Dragon Dances. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Javier was able to actually not Dynamax on the last turn against Porygon Z, which I was expecting because I was like, you want to play defensively, but ends up playing a perfect turn. So Eric is clearly content with his game plan from that first one. He just recognizes that he lost so much momentum off the bounce turn in that last game. So like you pointed out, yeah, I think you have to get this turn correctly on Eric's end this time around. Like, and it's tricky, right? Because what if Javier goes for the call out and says, I don't expect you to, I expect you to predict the bounce, and this time Porygon, like, not target the Cinderace slot. So, I don't know, a Max Strike into Tyranitar would do a lot of damage, and it looks like actually Eric's switching it up a little bit. Still committing the Max Strike into Cinderace, but saying, I don't think the Cinderace is ever going to high jump kick here, and even if it does, I'm getting this Intimidate off against it. Intimidate, I think, an excellent switch out here just to, decrease the attack of both of these physical attackers. So, yeah, let's see if Cinderace opts to go for yet another bounce, because Javier maybe this time around doesn't. And yeah, it's the Pyro Ball! Ooh, Pyro Ball coming through from Cinderace, so it's going to stick on the field and be on the receiving end of this Max Strike from Eric's Porygon Z, and the Incineroar switch ended up being so big here because it mitigated so much damage from that Pyro Ball, and Cinderace, as soon as it comes in, as soon as it uses the Pyro Ball, as soon as it goes down.
Oh man, it's really scary to click Max Strike again into the Cinderace slot, knowing that it bounced last time. But Eric just goes for it again, and I think that's a great play there. Getting an Intimidate off against this Tyranitar as well is so big, right? Because right now, Tyranitar's already taken a bunch of speed decreases. The Intimidate just makes it back to neutral. The key thing is to make sure that it doesn't start outspeeding you. And because of the multiple Max Strikes this time around, like you pointed out in the analysis of that end of the last round, what was really tricky was the bounce prevented that second Max Strike speed decrease. So this time around, Tyranitar eats up multiple Max Strikes, meaning it's going to have to Dragon Dance even more to start outspeeding things. And now, Togekiss has taken a lot of damage. And once again, it's like last time Togekiss Dynamax in this position. This time around, Eric still has the Togekiss in the back. You still pressure with a Hyper Beam this turn. And so, yeah, I think Eric calling that last game correctly, and he definitely has the advantage going into this late game this time around.
Absolutely. That was such a critical, pivotal point that Eric called correctly, and Javier just going for the damage into the Togekiss slot. Unfortunately, kind of got punished with the Incineroar switch in there. Hyper Beam, now we get a chance to answer your question about how much it does, and Togekiss does hang on with that sliver of HP as we expected, but the max airstream comes through, and Incineroar hangs on from that too.
Yeah, critical hit, still able to survive. What did Tyranitar go for here? Because if it opted for another Dragon Dance instead of a Rock Slide, and Incineroar is able to KO the Togekiss, that's huge. And it is another Dragon Dance, which means...
it's another one.
Yeah. Okay, well, able to boost speeds up twice now, right? You get the Airstream and the Dragon Dance boost. It does end up being Parting Shot, which we actually saw in the beginning. So this time around, though, I actually wanted to point this out in the last game. The Parting Shot went into Togekiss last time around. This Togekiss is, getting crit after crit after crit, so even these Parting Shots, like 50% of the time, it doesn't do anything, right? So I really like the decision to target the Tyranitar here, because by surviving with the Incineroar, you get that Parting Shot off, and you can bring the Incineroar back in once again. At this point, all Eric needs to do is KO the Togekiss. The Togekiss is taking a little bit of chip damage from Sand right now. Porygon Z obviously cannot go for any attack because it went for the Hyper Beam, but what you can do here is kind of stall out another turn of Dynamax on the Togekiss, and the Tyranitar can still pressure with Rock Slide, right? You can go for something like an Airstream and Rock Slide it, but because Eric has that Protect on his Togekiss, you can maybe consider just going for a Protect outright right now. You can even consider switching, as you see he is thinking about. But yeah, I think what you want to do right now is just let the Togekiss take a little bit more of chip damage. If you stall out the Dynamax, then it'll definitely be in Fake Out KO range, and the main reason for that is because Eric has that Urshifu in the back. The one thing you don't want to do right now is switch in that Urshifu. You just got to stall out Dynamax, KO the Togekiss, Urshifu comes in, and then hard wins against the Tyranitar.
I really, really like this switch from the Incineroar back in, because it kind of puts Javier in this unfortunate position of, do I have to keep Dragon Dancing my Tyranitar to get something done with it? And I feel like the answer is yes. It's taken so many attack drops. It might be at neutral speed now because of all the max Airstreams that have come through, as well as the Dragon Dances, but I also think that the switch in is really impactful because Eric gets a chance to eat another max Airstream where it preserves that Togekiss's health pool for later on in the end game.
Exactly. So going for yet another Intimidate, and Porygon Z is actually able to survive that as well. So these Intimidates have really been huge, and Togekiss just taking a little bit of more damage every turn. As soon as that goes down, Urshifu should be able to clean up this one. So I think now you can see Eric playing more defensively because his Dynamax is over, but these Intimidates and Parting Shots and Max Strikes are pretty much the best answer you can have against a Tyranitar that wants to Dragon Dance really consistently. So yeah, once again, one more turn of Dynamax left on the Togekiss, and we've got a bunch of speed boosts now on the Tyranitar. So Tyranitar here, I think, definitely wants to just click Rock Slide at this point. And Togekiss, probably content to just go for yet another Airstream onto Eric's Togekiss. So it's going to be a close finish here for sure, but I think Urshifu is the end game Eric's playing for. He finally protects with the Togekiss, doesn't want it to take any extra damage so that he can get that Urshifu in next to Togekiss for that follow me pressure.
Right. The max Airstream does very little through the Protect that Eric's Togekiss went for, even if it is a critical hit. So that is going to be a one way that Eric can stall out these last turns of Dynamax and get that Urshifu in next to it. Protect also protects Togekiss from this Rock Slide coming through from Tyranitar. Porygon Z has to take that one, and it gets knocked out here, but that provides a free switch for Eric to get this Urshifu in at the very end of the game.
Yeah, Sandstorm is also gone, so kind of, finishing at the perfect time. So Yeah, Urshifu has the Aqua Jet here, so you can Aqua Jet into the Togekiss before it's able to attack, because of course Togekiss is so fast now, and with its Dynamax over as well, it can go for Dazzling Gleam, meaning, yeah, you don't even need to go for something like Follow Me. So this is actually such a big turn, because we know Javier has Protect on that Togekiss. If he's able to call that correctly and go for something like a like a Protect on a Rock Slide, it all comes down to basically who do you predict to Protect here. So here's Helping Hand coming out. Let's see if Javier goes for Protect. Oh, man.
Oh, Togekiss goes for Protect.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, that's a huge...
The Aqua Jet, though, we know is going into the... Oh, we threw the Protect. It's so smart. That is exactly what you want to do with Urshifu there. Because, Urshifu was able to bypass that Helping Hand, just guaranteeing the damage. And actually, that's why Urshifu is such a cool late-game Pokemon, right? You can actually just bypass the Protects with your ability. So, Helping Hand Aqua Jet, they're actually a super, super safe play. And now you can just go for Follow Me Close Combat. Looks like Eric's actually going to opt for Protect instead. So, yeah, I mean, Urshifu is a Pokemon that actually can't take very much damage from Tyranitar. You're basically hoping for flinches at this point. And actually, Urshifu, with its ability, able to bypass the Protect, so smart to just guarantee the knockout onto Togekiss. Had that Aqua Jet to clutch it out as well. No flinch comes out here. Close Combat will seal up the deal. So that's actually exactly how you want to use Urshifu in the late game.
Oh, you were talking about this too, Aaron, where Urshifu in the right hands can be such a formidable opponent, and Javier has to feel that firsthand on how that Urshifu ends up being maneuvered in that late game. So fantastic gameplay from both of these players, going so back and forth in this series so far that we're tied up. But let's talk about Game 3. Let's get into Game 3 and see how this series closes out. We saw very similar game plans from both of these players, but that turn 3, so pivotal on who kind of was able to take the driver's seat. Are they going to play out the same game plan? These leads tell me yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see maybe a repeat of the first two games. Once again, on this first turn, Eric can consider not Dynamaxing the Porygon Z if he wants to read hard into the Double Protect. That allows you to get an extra turn of Dynamax on the Porygon Z, but it's pretty risky, because if you end up not Dynamaxing and Javier actually ends up attacking, you can really lose a lot, especially if that Amoonguss, say, ends up going for something like a Spore. Javier also could go for something like a Follow Me with that Togekiss and the Spore onto the Amoonguss. That's one play that he hasn't really gone for yet up until this point, especially because the Togekiss hasn't really been going for Follow Me on turn 1 on Eric's end. So, yeah, looks like we're going to see a slight adjustment this time in terms of target selection. It's actually going to be that Helping Hand Backstrike into the Amoonguss slot, just to do as much damage as possible onto that. So, really curious if Javier just goes for the same Double Protect that he's been consistently going for, or whether he's willing to change it up a little bit this time around.
If Javier changes it up, specifically on the Amoonguss, you might get a little bit pressured by this Helping Hand Max Strike coming through, but Togekiss goes for the Protect from Javier's end. Let's see what this Amoonguss does. It's going to be a Protect from Amoonguss as well. What did we expect here?
Yeah. We were calling out all these different plays that could happen. Porygon Z not Dynamaxing, the Follow Me, the Spore, but ends up just being the exact same play. But get a lot of free damage onto the Amoonguss this time around, which means, of course, another Max Strike now will pick up the knockout. So Eric actually changing the target selection. They're kind of expecting a Double Protect most likely once again. His play covers for a lot of options too. The only thing it doesn't cover for is like Togekiss going for Follow Me and Amoonguss just going for something like a Spore. But yeah, in this position, you're able to get a lot of damage onto the Amoonguss. Now another Max Strike will cleanly knock that slot out. So you can just target it once again, which I think would be, pretty smart decision here. Once again, you really have to respect the Spore. I think the threat of Spore here is just super, super scary. Eric's Togekiss kind of in a weird spot where it's not really able to do that much damage. Like, you can Air Slash into Amoonguss, but I don't even think that would knock out, because we've seen the Koba Berry, so you kind of feel committed to Max Strike. Maybe Eric considers switching out the Togekiss here. Could always just go for, some safe damage with Air Slash, but I think switching out also works to kind of capitalize off more offensive position. Amoonguss goes for the double, but it doesn't get it.
Oh. No, doesn't get the Double Protect, so this Max Strike is going to secure the knockout for Eric's Porygon Z. But I gotta say that depending on how much damage this Air Slash does from Eric's Togekiss, Javier's Togekiss is actually sitting in a really, really good position right now. Air Slash comes through. does it about as much as what we expected to see kind of from the Max Strike through the Protect, but the Nasty Plot, that's new.
That is really new. I was wondering what kind of set this was, because it was, protecting earlier, but then it had the scope lens. It hasn't gone for follow me at any point in this game as well, and Eric's been playing like he doesn't expect it to have follow me. Of course, both players have access to their team sheets, so yeah, Nasty Plot instead. Not a move you really see on Togekiss very often at all. I'm not actually sure how much that move helps Javier right now, because yeah, you can just pressure with another Max Strike. Now, I think the double protect play, it's rare to see players opt for a double protect so early on in the game, but it made a lot of sense on Javier's, and if you get it, it puts you in such a good spot, because it means that Eric needs 3 turns to knock out Amoonguss alone. If you trade Amoonguss for a Porygon Z Dynamax, that is so worth it. So given that it's the last turn of Dynamax once again on Eric's end, I think maybe content to just go for something like a double protect guarantee, like you survive with both Pokemon. So, yeah, Nasty Plot, really interesting, puts on more offensive pressure on Togekiss, and yep, it's just going to be Protect this time around.
Yeah, the Protect is so important, because especially when you see the Nasty Plot boost onto Javier's Togekiss, it really sets it up if Javier wants to go for Dynamax with the Togekiss again in this 3rd game of the series. But here the Max Strike comes through, and Tyranitar speed falls once again, putting Javier in that position where Dragon Dance is going to end up being very critical again.
Yeah, so Javier once again content to just click Dragon Dance, knows Porygon Z isn't really going to do that much damage, and that he kind of has to respect the Togekiss. It's funny, Togekiss doesn't have Follow Me, but the Nasty Plot Protect was kind of like a pseudo Follow Me, where Eric got really, it brings on the pressure, because as we've seen, Javier's been Dynamaxing this Togekiss really consistently. Now, this time around, you can't really Dynamax that Togekiss nearly as easily, because yeah, we've seen that Hyper Beam should do enough damage to actually pick up the knockout. So Eric, once again, kind of in that early lead. However, we don't know what Javier's last Pokemon is, and I suspect that this time around, Togekiss isn't going to Dynamax. And if it's Cinderace in the back, it might be a prime Pokemon to Dynamax and just start sweeping. So Thunderbolt's going to pick up the knockout onto Togekiss. Parting Shot's going to be able to decrease Tyranitar's attack a little bit more as well, but Javier kind of playing for endgame potentially with that Cinderace, and it's another Dragon Dance just to make sure you start out speeding.
Yeah, I think that's really important for Javier, especially because we saw how impactful the Dragon Dances were for Game 1, where the speed mattered more than the attack boosts that you were getting from the Dragon Dance to bring yourself back to neutral after the Intimidate drops and this Parting Shot that came through. So I think Javier's Tyranitar is in a really good position, especially if you're going to get that Cinderace next to it, if that's what was brought.
Yeah, this is played out like in Cinderace, right? I mean, like Rillaboom, like Gyarados, or like, definitely not be great here. And Javier's been bringing the same 4 Pokemon, so yep, it is going to be that Cinderace. And this becomes really interesting now. Javier is, of course, down, but he has so much offense now. I mean, Cinderace is a Pokemon that often does what Porygon Z does, right? It sweeps in the early game, but if you're able to stall out your opponent's Dynamax, especially considering that Eric's team is pretty offensive, the Cinderace can really just start doing a lot of damage now. So I think you're going to really want to cycle in those Intimidates with the Incineroar just to decrease the attack consistently, because you're trying to play for the Urshifu endgame at this point. But looks like Eric's actually just content to attack with both Pokemon, and it's a bounce once again. No Dynamax.
Oh, it just feels like Eric falls to this every time. Tyranitar goes for the Rock Slide, which is going to connect with both Pokemon and does a hefty chunk of damage, but it's the Hyper Beam that misses because of that Cinderace bounce.
Oh, these bounces are just so smart. I mean, I think Eric really had a pretty safe play. If you go for the Follow Me and the Cinderace Dynamaxes, right? Hyper Beam just does so much damage. It might even pick up the knockout onto Cinderace. So once again, these bounce plays are incredible. Like, you don't see bounce really used defensively that often. And normally, Cinderace, when it comes out, it Dynamaxes immediately. But Javier doing it twice in the set, in safe positions too, right? Because what's Togekiss and Porygon Z going to do against Tyranitar in this position? Not very much. So that was actually a relatively safe play as well. But yeah, these Tyranitars just, with the speed boost as well, Rock Slide is able to chip away at everything. It does a, significant amount, especially against Togekiss and Incineroar, and Porygon's not exactly a very defensive Pokemon either. So I think Javier obviously has to bounce right now with Cinderace. Tyranitar content to maybe click Rock Slide. Could get cheeky and go for another Dragon Dance, but I think in this position you want to play safe. See, there's Bounce.
Yeah, play a little bit safe with that Protect, but Bounce comes through onto Porygon Z, does secure the knockout. So did Tyranitar call the Protect, and yes, goes for a Dragon Dance again.
Wow. I mean, Javier goes for these Dragon Dances because he's often in really safe positions to do so. I was thinking one slight win condition you could go for on Eric's end there is, yeah, just going straight for damage. You could even maybe hope for a miss, for example. Should you go for a, like, if you call out the Dragon Dance there, you go for, like, a Follow Me and a Hyper Beam, actually. That would have been, like, a hard win, right? But Javier kind of reads into Eric playing a little bit safer and ends up getting a lot. I think that was actually a little bit risky on Javier's end, but now I think he is in a phenomenal spot because this Tyranitar is able to just outspeed both Pokemon right now. You can Dynamax the Cinderace to avoid any fake outs here. So I think Eric realizes that, says there's no point in really going for a fake out, but I think it's finally time to click the Dynamax button on Cinderace, finally time to start just getting consistent damage off, and I don't know, I mean, something like a Max Knuckle Rock Slide feels really powerful here. Cinderace obviously has a bunch of different options you can go for, but man, the bounce play is just so smart on Javier's end. I think, you know, Eric's been playing this well too, it's just, what can you really do against the bounce other than, you know, hoping for a miss? Or I think that last year maybe you could capitalize a little bit off reading into Javier, getting greedy and going for another Dragon Dance. Because the reality is that was a little bit greedy. I think if you just go for Follow Me Hyper Beam there, it might be enough to knock out the Cinderace. So it's kind of surprised to see that, but ends up working out for Javier.
It really does, and now this Gigantamax for Cinderace is going to work out pretty well for Javier too. We'll see what he has selected to do as Togekiss from Eric's end goes for the Follow Me, just to be able to play a little bit more defensively, and Tyranitar goes for the Rock Slide, so it just completely goes around the Follow Me, as Incineroar is going to be able to take that attack as well. So good knockout from Javier's end, and Max Airstream from Cinderace.
Ooh.
Doesn't quite secure the knockout, but that's a lot of damage onto Eric's Incineroar.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you can see, the way that Javier's been prioritizing this Tyranitar, that's why he went for that Dragon Dance, right? He wants the Tyranitar to be able to be faster, because if your Tyranitar is faster than the Cinderace, like you pointed out, it ignores that redirection support from the, ignores the redirection support coming out from that Togekiss. So that's kind of what happened in, you know, in the previous rounds as well. So the Airstream coming out instead of something like a super effective Max Knuckle means you don't get the attack boost, but you of course get the speed increase. Now both of these Pokemon are super speedy, and Incineroar is obviously one turn away from getting knocked out. What is interesting here is, because of, you know, late game Urshifu, you could go for something like just a fake out close combat into the Tyranitar. You've already gotten multiple Intimidates off against the Cinderace. The main thing is that Cinderace, by not being fire type, like an Aqua Jet doesn't become super effective anymore, right? So I think on Cinderace's end, even though it's eaten all these attack drops, it's really important to just make sure, I mean, there's no reason to really go for a fire type attack here anyway, but yeah, make sure that you play defensively using your attacks here. I think this is where Urshifu becomes interesting because, of course, it can get that close combat up against Tyranitar. So, but we know that the Tyranitar is faster than both Pokemon right now, so if you want to get a knockout onto it before it attacks, you kind of feel forced to maybe launch a fake out into that slot. And looks like that is what Eric's going to go for.
It's coming down to the absolute wire for both of these players. Tyranitar is not going to be able to move through that fake out, but the Max Airstream from Cinderace does so much damage to Urshifu from Eric's side of the field.
Yeah, so much damage. Even, I think it's at -3 attack at this point. Even still able to do over 50%, which means you can just target it again safely this next turn. And so, it's going to be a close finish, right? Like, you've knocked out the Tyranitar. It's a 2v1 there. I think that was pretty much the only play Eric could have gone for this last turn, but are you able to do enough damage at this point? Because what Javier has done so smartly in this game is stall out the Dynamax. So he has one more turn of Dynamax now, right? So, like, you can go for something like an Airstream into the Urshifu. I'm wondering if it's enough to knock out after the defense drop from that close combat. And I think at this point, yeah, you're hoping for probably a critical hit, maybe with Flare Blitz here onto the Cinderace. A burn could be a big deal as well. And so yeah, the first question is, yeah, can Urshifu survive a Max Airstream after that defense drop? Sure, Cinderace is -3 attack, but, you know, that first one did a lot. And then is Flare Blitz able to do enough damage? Or, you know, it's never going to pick up the knockout here. But yeah, can you maybe get like a critical hit or a burn? Oh, looks like actually Eric's opting for the parting shot option instead. So just wants to decrease Cinderace's attacks further and hope that Urshifu in regular form can survive. I feel like Flare Blitz, at this point, you really need to just go for damage because I'm curious where the damage is coming. But it's going to be the Max Knuckle coming out. Oh, boy.
Oh, no. Yeah, so parting shot here from Eric actually doesn't even get a chance to happen because Incineroar takes the Max Knuckle, and that increases Javier Cinderace's attack again. This is a very interesting predicament for Eric to be in, because is the damage from Urshifu going to be enough to seal this game?
Yeah, I think at this point, Cinderace should have it. I actually really like the Max Knuckle there. It's a prediction, right? I mean, I think Urshifu often wants to protect there, and Eric's game plan is, survive the Max Airstream through the protect, and then have Urshifu in the late game. But now, the Cinderace is super fast, and it can just go for any attack onto the Urshifu slot. Of course, if Urshifu attacked last turn, had it gone through something like a close combat or surging strikes, might have done enough damage. High jump kick is able to connect, though, and oh man, what a set.
What a series for sure between Javier and Eric, but Javier takes the series 2-1. Cinderace, the MVP of this matchup for sure, with going for those defensive bounces and then also just being able to seal the deal for that third game for Javier. What an exciting series.
Yeah, wow, I mean, that last game was crazy. I keep thinking about the turn where the Tyranitar ended up going for the Dragon Dance again. I think it feels like Javier was able to call Eric's plays really perfectly for a couple of turns. And yeah, if Eric just opted for like a follow me hyper beam, the reason he didn't was, of course, he respected the option of just like rock slide bounce picking up a double knockout. So he was like, okay, you don't want that to happen. But oh man, yeah.